السلام عليكم حضورنا الكريم، وأهلا بكم في هذه الأمسية التي خصصها المركز الثقافي العراقي للبحث في شؤون القبول الجامعي للطلبة العراقيين، انسجاماً مع توجهات الدولة العراقية في دعم مسيرة التعليم العالي وبالتخصصات التي يحتاجها الاقتصاد الوطني وبناء الدولة. ولا يخفى علينا جميعاً أن التعليم العراقي العالي في العراق كان منذ البداية ومنذ عشرات السنين مرتبط بالجامعات البريطانية، وكانت الجامعات البريطانية هي المقصد الأول لطلبتنا الراغبين في الدراسة بالخارج. ولهذا الغرض استضفنا اليوم السيدة رولا الآلوسي، مديرة ومؤسسة شركة Rulez Aviation منذ عام 1995. هذه الشركة مختصة بالخدمات الأكاديمية وما يرتبط بها، أي الحصول على القبول في الجامعات البريطانية، بالإضافة إلى التقديم إلى الفيزا الدراسية والسكن وما شابه ذلك من خدمات ملاصقة. ستتحدث أيضا في الندوة السيدة ميس النعمة، وهي محامية مختصة في طلبات الفيزا للحصول على أمرين هامين للطالب الذي ينوي الدراسة في المملكة المتحدة، وهما الانتري كليرنس أو سمة الدخول، والفيزا ابليكيشن أو التقديم على الفيزا. كذلك استضفنا السيد علي بخش، مندوب جامعة بروناي، وهي واحدة من أكبر الجامعات في بريطانيا. أما حضورنا الكريم فنتوقع أن أغلبهم من أهالي وأقارب الطلبة الذين ينوون القدوم إلى بريطانيا والدراسة هنا مستقبلا. نأمل أن تكون ندوة مفيدة إن شاء الله، وشكرا لحضوركم. تتفضل الآن السيدة رولا الآلوسي للحديث عن شركة خدمات Rulez Aviation وما يمكن أن تقدمه للطلبة في هذا المجال. تفضل.
شكرا ست وحيدة. مساء الخير. Rulez Aviation بدأت في 1995 ككلية تدريب بشكل عام للإنفورميشن تكنولوجي والمانجمنت، لكن طورنا في عام 2010 إلى كلية أو إلى شركة للحصول على القبولات الدراسية في بريطانيا وأيرلندا. وخلال السنة الماضية توسعنا إلى الحصول على قبولات دراسية في كندا وأستراليا كذلك. أحب بالبداية بس أوضح ليش هي Rulez Aviation. إيش معنى Aviation؟ لأنه هذا ينطق الانطباع أنه هي طيران بالذات، يعني بشكل خاص. Aviation لأن احنا مختصين كنا في البداية مع طلبة الطيران والطلبة أو الأشخاص اللي مهتمين بالحصول على إجازة طيران أو هندسة الطيران، لكن شفنا الاهتمام من الطلبة والأشخاص اللي مهتمين بالدراسة في بريطانيا بالحصول على قبولات من اختصاصات ثانية، من ضمنها الطب والإدارة والهندسة في جميع مجالاتها. وعلى هالأساس هذا بقى اسمها Rulez Aviation، لكن احنا مع هذا مختصين في الحصول على قبولات في مجالات ثانية. مثل ما ذكرت انه احنا نعمل في بريطانيا وايرلندا وكندا كذلك واستراليا. من ضمن الخدمات اللي تقدمها شركتنا ليست حصريا فقط على الحصول على قبول دراسي، وانما تشمل خدمات اضافية، منها نصح الطالب في شنو نوع الجامعة أو الاختصاص اللي المفروض يروح له. وأهم شيء بالنسبة لنا أنه يكون توجيه الطالب في اختيار الجامعة الصحيحة، لأن تعاملنا مع الطالب بالنتيجة إذا تكون التعامل جيد راح يعني يبني له سمعة جيدة مع الطلبة. فلما نختار له جامعة معينة حتى لو هو كان حاب يدرس مثلا في جامعة ألف، احنا مو شرط انه نجيب له قبول من هذه الجامعة، لأنه كادر العمل يتأكد انه القبول اللي نعطيه للطلبة هو قبول معتمد من وزارة الدولة اللي هو جاي منها. فمثلا إذا طالب يحب يدرس في بريطانيا وهو مبتعث من وزارة التعليم العالي العراقية أو على حساب وزارة معينة، ويريد يدرس في أي جامعة من الجامعات ويجي يقول أنا أريد أدرس فلان جامعة، مو شرط أنه إحنا نوفر له هذا الشيء، ما ننصحه أول ونقول له أنه هذه الجامعة حتى لو نجيب له قبول منها ما راح تقدر تحصل البعثة لأنه جامعة غير معتمدة وغير موصى بها. وإلا بعدين يعني يصير عنده مشاكل وتنرفض البعثة، أو حتى لو مشت الأمور بالبداية بعدين لما يجي يصدق الشهادة في الملحقية ما راح يصدقوا له هي، ويكون تعب السنين هذا كله راح عليه. فبالإضافة إلى أنه شغلات ثانية لازم نتأكد من عندها، لأنه ما نريد نعيد مأساة في مثل ما صار في جامعة ما أعرف إذا سامعيها لندن متروبوليتان يونيفرسيتي. الحكومة البريطانية مثل ما أحد الحضور الطالب من لندن متروبوليتان يونيفرسيتي خير العارفين، الحكومة البريطانية طلعت الطلاب من الجامعة وأمرتهم أنه الملحقيات والدول اللي هم تابعين لها أنه لازم يطلعون من عندها، لازم يطلعون من الجامعة، ويعني صارت فد كارثة. فلهذا إحنا حتى نتجنب هاي الكوارث أو نتجنب هاي المشاكل بالنسبة للطالب، نحاول نتأكد أنه هذه الجامعة معتمدة وموصى بها من قبل الوزارات. بالإضافة إلى الكورس الأوفرات والقبولات الدراسية اللي نجيبها للطالب، إحنا نقدم خدمات ثانية من ضمنها البرامج التدريبية للشركات أو للجهات اللي مهتمة أنه تدرب الكادر اللي عندهم كادر العمل في الشركة أو في المؤسسة. فمن ضمنها كورسات تطويرية، كورسات في الإدارة، كورسات في الهندسة، في جميع الاختصاصات. وأغلب هاي الكورسات هي ما تكون فد كورس محدد، وإنما حسب ما تدرس الإدارة، ندرس السي فيز ونشوف المتطلبات الريكوايرمنتس اللي رايدتها المؤسسة أو الوزارة، وعلى الأساس هذا نسوي لهم مثل ما يقولون تيلر ميد كورس، يعني نصمم لهم إياه هذا الكورس خاص لهم بس لهاي الشركة إن كانت من وزارة الإعلام مثلا، ويحبون إنه الكادر يتدرب على الدعاية والتصوير والإخراج والكذا. فيعني بشكل عام مثل ما قلت أنه الكورسات تكون مخصصة لهالكادر العمل. من ضمن الشغلات اللي نتأكد من عندها أنه إذا الطالب كان مهتم بالحصول على الفيزا عن طريق مكتبنا، الفيزا الأكاديمية، إذا خاصة هو الطالب غير مبتعث وإنما جاي على حسابه الخاص، فإذا كان الطالب يريد أنه هو يقدم وحده، فإحنا يعني طبعاً أكيد يعني نقول له وين يروح يقدم بالسفارة إلى آخره. بس إذا كان يحب أنه عن طريق مكتبنا يقدم على هاي الفيزا، هاي مرة ثانية ضمن الخدمات اللي نقدمها، فنحيله إلى القسم القانوني اللي موجود بالشركة. القسم القانوني مثل ما ست ميس راح تشرح لكم بعدين شلون يعني تمشي بإجراءات الحصول على الفيزا، بعد أن إحنا نزود الطالب بالكاس نمبر. الكاس نمبر اللي هو يعني مثل خلينا نعتبره هو الجرين لايت أو الرخصة إنه الطالب يقدر يقدم على فيزا، لأن بدون هذا الكاس نمبر ماكو طالب يقدر يقدم على سمة دخول كطالب إلى بريطانيا ما لم يكون عنده هذا الرقم. فإحنا لازم نتأكد من إنه أوراق الطالب كاملة وندرسها ونختار له الجامعة المناسبة، وعلى أساسها نقدم أوراقه، بعدين نحصل له على القبول، وبعد أن يستوفي كل الشروط ويدفع الرسوم مباشرة للجامعة، لأنه إحنا عندنا عقود كثيرة مع يعني جامعات كثيرة في بريطانيا. ذاك الوقت نحصل له على كاس نمبر ونعطيه كاس نمبر ويروح يقدم على فيزا حتى تمشي أموره. وبعدها من ضمن الخدمات الإضافية نقدمها للطالب إذا يحب المتابعة بعد أن يوصل إلى بريطانيا، إذا يحب مثلا ترتيبات الستودنت accommodation، أو عندكم مثلا يريد مساعدة إنه مين يشتري كتب، شنو المراجع اللي يشتريها، إذا ما يقدر يحصل هاي المعلومات من الجامعة. غالبا طلبة الدكتوراه بالذات يحتاجون أحد أدفايسهم على الرايت اب، على شلون أسلوب البحث إلى آخره. يعني نستلم الطالب من المرحلة اللي هو يريد يفكر فيها إنه يريد يجي لبريطانيا إلى أن يتخرج ويرجع لبلده، وقبل ما يرجع أصلا يصدق شهادته ولا تسيت يروح يخدم العراق إن شاء الله. ليش رولز افيشن بالذات؟ رولز افيشن لانه اولا الكادر مختص، بس يمكن يعني يكونون اوكي شركات كثيره مختصه، بس احنا بالنسبه لنا من نشتغل ما نتعامل ويا الطالب على انه هذا applying for an offer. احنا يعني مباشره نعطيه اكثر من معلومه، نعطي اوكي تريد اوفر، بس ما لازم تتاكد انه عندك شروط معينه، يعني تروح تقدم على البعثه، اوراقك تكون مختمه من الوزاره، يعني نساعده بكل ما ممكن من جهود انه حتى يعني نختصر عليه الوقت، وفي نهاية المطاف أنه إذا هو كان حابي الطالب وشاف أنه خدماتنا يعني جيدة، فأكيد يعني راح ينشر المعلومة للزملاء والسمعة الطيبة طبعا منهم يريدها. بالإضافة إلى أنه كادر العمل مختص. مثل ما قلت لكم احنا من 95 واحنا نتعامل مع الطلبة بالتدريس والتدريب إلى آخره. فهاي السنة كلها أعطتنا خبرة، مو إحنا ايجنسي أو ايجنت قاعد يعني في مكتب صغير في باب المعظم مثلا ويجيب قبولات للطالب. لا، إحنا أكثر من هذا الشيء، إحنا شركة مختصة خبيرة، وهدفنا إنه مصلحة الطالب أولاً. وبالنتيجة يعني إذا مثل ما قلت لكم إذا الطالب حاب يعرف الأشياء اللي إحنا نقدم له إياه، فأكيد يعني راح تكون سمعتنا قوية. سرعة الحصول على القبول. إحنا بسبب عقودنا مع الشركات أو مع الجامعات والكليات والمعاهد وعلاقتنا الطيبة وياهم، قدرنا نبني علاقة وكونتراكت معين وياهم، إنه الطالب من يتقدم لنا نعطيه استمارة تسجيل وتخويل إلى آخره، لكن بعد أن تتم هاي الأوراق كلها حال أن يعطينا إياها إحنا يعني تقريبا خلال 48 ساعة if we exclude the weekend. إذا نعزل الويكند وما نحسب أنه سبت وأحد، ممكن نجيب له الأوفر خلال 48 ساعة. الطلبة لما نقول لهم هذا الشيء يقول لي إيه أوكي، بس أنت صار يومين ثلاثة لسه ما جبتي لي القبول. أأكد أنه ال 48 ساعة هي في حالة أنه الطالب كمل الملف كامل، صدق أوراقه، أعطانا إياها، أعطانا التخويل، وبعدين على أساسه نجيب له القبول. زين، فيعني ما أعتقد أكو مكتب أو شركة ثانية تقدر تزود قبول لطالب يدرس في بريطانيا بهالفترة القصيرة هاي. فهاي مرة ثانية شيء ثاني من ضمن المميزات اللي تتميز بها شركة Rulez Aviation. أي أسئلة أرجو أنه تكون يعني تركون إياها للأخير، وراح أنطي المايك لست ميس تشرح لكم الناحية القانونية وشون أنه الطالب يعني يحتاج يمشي بإجراءات معينة، وشنو العقبات اللي ممكن يواجهها عند تقديمه للفيزا ولسمة الدخول كطالب.
So as I was saying, I deal with various immigration issues, including visa applications, appeals as well, if there was a visa application that's been refused and so on. And so I'd like to speak to you a little bit about student immigration in the UK, and mainly dealing with entry clearance application. Now, any migrant wishing to enter the UK, whether it's to work or to study in the UK, they go through, they've got to apply for entry clearance. Entry clearance is basically another name for visa in order to enter the UK. There is a points-based system in the UK, which is within the immigration rules, which a student has to, for example, comply with and satisfy various requirements in order to enter and have a successful application. For example, one of the points they've got to satisfy is they've got to make 30 points for the confirmation of accept the studies and the CAS letter, sorry. So the CAS letter is basically confirmation from a university or an educational establishment confirming that this student is eligible and to study and suitable to study this course. And so it's very important to liaise with the student in order to find, for example, the right course in order to make up the immigration rules and the points, one being the 30 points for the CAS letter, which a credible university should be able to provide for you. Other rules include, of course, maintenance, which means that you've got to be able to support yourself in the UK and so on. So that they have to be provided in order for a successful visa application to be made. I'm sure you have heard the problem with the London Metropolitan University and how important it is to actually not only comply with the immigration rules to begin with, but also to be updated and to for a university to, for example, maintain its license to give the student all the benefits and so on in future. And so this Rulez Aviation, in my opinion, this market is lacking somebody or an organisation or a body like Rulez Aviation, because it's independent of the university and it's independent of the Home Office. It actually works with the student, advises the students in collaboration, if you like, with various bodies, but it would provide the best student advice, if you like. It would also, for example, keep the student up to date by liaising with various immigration professionals in terms of this university still has its license, or this university could offer you such a course, so on and so forth. In order to benefit from this organisation, I think it's a good idea for the student to keep in touch with this organisation in order to maintain your studies in the UK, and also for further leave to remain, because when your visa is coming to an end, you've got to apply for further leave to remain in the UK or else leave the UK. And so it's a good idea to be updated of what's happening and of the latest rules and regulations in order for you not to be in a detrimental position, and so that you can carry on and possibly reach your target and possibly working in the UK or going back, returning to your own country, working there. Whatever your objective may be, it's just this organisation, in my view, is one that would look after you. I think that concludes all, unless I can be of assistance, or if you have any questions, then I'm happy to take them.
Questions now? Or?
Do you want?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, at the end, that's fine. Thank you then. I will now introduce Mr. Ali Barch, who's from Brunel University.
Okay, good evening everyone. I hope you can hear me from the back as well. My name is Ali and I'm a representative of LIBT at Brunel University. Let me tell you a bit about LIBT. It stands for London IBT. We're part of the Navitas group. We have special relationships with a number of universities in the UK. And how we work is we have colleges on the campuses of these universities, and we offer international students a pathway to degree at that respective institution. So LIBT is based on the campus of Brunel. That's where I work, that's where I represent. And the link here with the team at Rulez Aviation is they're one of our trusted representatives in the region. And so what happens, for example, if we have a student in Iraq, they want to come and study at Brunel, they may not have the right level of qualifications just yet. So they study with us, do a foundation year maybe, or do their first year with us. And once they've completed that foundation pathway, then they start their studies at Brunel and eventually graduate with a Brunel degree. And the key service that the team here provide is more or less around the sort of visa, entry clearance, and the bank statement and all those sorts of important components. Cool. Let me tell you a bit about Brunel University then. I will take about 10 minutes of your time. Brunel, in short, is a campus-based university. We're based in West London, Uxbridge, which is Zone 6. It's home to nearly 15,000 students, vast majority of them being international from over 100 different countries. And founded in 1966, if you're interested, and it's first and foremost known for its teaching and its research excellence, but also increasingly of its practical and entrepreneurial approach to develop its students as future leaders. Okay, if you see the screen there, what you'll see is a helicopter view of the campus. The sections in red, they represent accommodation on the campus. We have approximately 4,500 rooms, and the vast majority of them are en suite. The sections in blue, that's your sporting facilities, and the sections in yellow, they are the student support functions, i.e. the library, your food court, your pharmacy, so on and so forth. So if there are any students amongst in the crowd today, feel free to have a chat with me afterwards, or indeed the team at Rulez Aviation. We are based in Uxbridge, so it is Zone 6. It takes approximately 45 minutes to travel into Zone 1, Central London. The other advantage that we have is it gives all the international students the access and exposure to London, which is one of the most vibrant cities in the world today. So another advantage of Brunel is the sporting facilities. It's worth noting for the London 2012 Olympics, we had some of the national teams and notable athletes such as Usain Bolt training at the facility for their competitive events. So if you're looking for any sort of sporting options, for example, those of you looking to join a university, this is a good one. Right. One of Brunel's distinctive features is the employability of its graduates, and there are a couple of initiatives it has put into place, i.e. placement years, internships, and other sorts of facilities for students to develop their employability skills. So when you come out of the university, you not only have a degree with your academic skills, but you've also got some practical skills and some softer skills that you've developed along the way as well. So it makes a far more rounded individual who's able to hit the ground running once they join employment. So LIBT is the department on the campus that offers the foundation pathway, the first year pathway, and the pre-master pathway. These are all preparatory courses designed to help international students progress into Brunel and eventually graduate with a Brunel degree. There's just a quick image of what a pathway looks like. You've got an undergraduate pathway on the top and a postgraduate pathway in the bottom. I'm not going to explain too much, but it's pretty much self-explanatory, I guess. I can give an example. Let's say, for example, you have a student in Iraq and they've just completed their secondary school. They've achieved overall 60%. In that sort of scenario, we would take that particular student into our foundation year. Conversely, if you have a student that's achieved 85% or above, then they can go directly into our stage 2, which is our first year. So if they go into a first year, it's going to be a 3-year program. And if they go into a foundation, it's going to be a 4-year program. Yeah? One other thing to note, we will also, in addition to the academic requirements, i.e. the 60 and the 85, we also look for English proficiency. You might have heard of the term IELTS or TOEFL or Pearson. So there are English requirements to be met as well. So you need to meet academic and English. Once you meet both those components, we issue you an unconditional offer letter to the student. That means they can enroll as long as they sign the documents and make payment. These are the degree options we offer at present. At undergraduate level, there's business and management. There's economics and finance. There's business, computing, computer science, and there's law. Hopefully in the future we'll also get the engineering on board. And in terms of postgraduate studies, so for those of you looking into master's programs, we also offer business and management, business, computing, computer science, and also the MBA program. Now, some of these programs, particularly at the postgraduate level, do require some level of work experience, ideally 3 years of relevant sort of roles. Here's just a quick snapshot of the Brunel Business School. It's consistently been ranked in the top 7 in London, and also this year we were, similar to last year, we were shortlisted for the Times Higher Education Awards for the best business school in the UK. So it has a lot of credentials in the business school, but also the engineering school as well, if you're interested. I'm going to skip through the tuition fees. We can have a chat about it later. And these are my contact details. So if you did have any questions, if I did sort of skim through very quickly, I mean, if there's any sort of questions whatsoever, just give me just ask me a question later, and I'll be more than happy to answer it the best I can. One thing I would like to add is I've been working with Rulez Aviation for more than 12 months now, and they are one of our top tier partners in the UK. So if you have any sort of questions, queries, or if you'd like to make an application, they will be your first point of contact. I'm more than happy to take any questions if you have them right now, or if you're sort of a bit shy at the moment, and we can ask or answer the questions later. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ali. Like Ali was saying, we have very close contact with Brunel University, and it's in London. So most people who want to study in London, we would definitely direct them to Brunel. And now I'll switch to Arabic. Sorry, Ali. اوكي، مثل ما ذكرت لكم بداية الندوة انه شركة رولز تتعامل ويا الطلبة من العراق ومن مختلف الدول العربية للي يريدون يدرسون ببريطانيا. حاليا عندنا طلبة اصلا من عمر 12 سنة، وذول اللي يريدون يدرسون اهلهم يحبون انهم يدرسون داخلي في مدارس بريطانية، ثقافة بريطانية، تعليم اتيكيت الى اخره، وذول ننحيلهم المناطق الكلية، المدارس اللي هي تكون بالكونتري سايد او بالذات الريف الاسكتلندي. فمثل ما قلت انه يعني افيشن لا تحتصر فقط حصريا على الطيران، وانما تكون تبدي ويا الطالب من هو يخلص الابتدائية عفوا الى مرحلة الدكتوراه. وقسم من الطلبة تنقصهم المعلومة انه شلون يجون بريطانيا يدرسون، فاحنا نحب نوصل الفكرة انه رولز افيشن موجودة لخدمة الطلبة العرب والعراقيين واللي يحبون يدرسون في الدول اللي احنا والجامعات اللي نتعامل معها، ايرلندا، بريطانيا، كندا واستراليا. واي اسئلة تحبون توجهوها يعني تفضلوا رجعوا. اي احد من التيم يعني ان كانت العليا او الميس بالنسبه للانتري كليرنس، لانه قسم من الطلبه يقول يتصل يقول اوكي انا اريد قبول وكذا وجهزنا له الاوراق زين، منو قال راح اضمن الفيزا؟ راح تطلع لي فيزا تقدرون انتم تضمنوا لي الفيزا؟ فهي الاشياء يعني اذا واحد يعني عنده هاي الكونسيرنز او يريد يستفسر عشان بالضبط يحصل على الفيزا، فاكيد ممكن يوجه الاسئله الميس. و بس أحب أنه قبل ما أنهي، الجامعات هي مو بس الجامعات لدراسة البكالوريوس والدكتوراه والماجستير، وإننا يعني ممكن إحنا ندعم مع كليات لغة كذلك. فاللي ما يريد يدرس بالعراق ويمتحن في مركز معتمد في أربيل بالنسبة للآيلتس اللي هو شهادة اللغة المطلوبة في بريطانيا، ممكن يجي يدرس هنا لغة وبعدين يمشي للمرحلة الثانية. شكرا.
سمعت انه اللي يجي لهنا بسنة فيزا اعتيادية زيارة حسب القانون الجديد انه ممكن خلال هذه الزيارة اذا كان الكورس لا يزيد عن 30 يوم ممكن ان يدرس هذا.
Yes. Shall I repeat this in English?
Yes.
Okay. So there has been I think on the 1st of October a recent law to say that general visitors can now study, but there are limitations on what they can study. The course has to be less than 30 days or 30 days, and it can't include an English language course. So now the government has opened a little bit, I suppose, the path for visitors to study, because previously that was not allowed. And so you have a free way if you are a general visitor to study, of course, but again, it's limited. 30 days, for example, is the limit, and also it can't be an English language course. No, that's correct.
Sorry, but for student visitor visa, they cancel the language for 3 months, right?
What they've done now,
not T4.
Yes, what they've done now is they've scrapped the prospective student visitor, and they've put this in the new just general visitor. But yes, they can, yes. But that's a different one. Some people here want to study something, but they can't do it because there was previously a restriction. So yes, that's not aimed at particularly people who want to come and study here. The prospective student route has now gone. There are different routes now under this category, but they've extended that in terms of people who just want to study for leisure, not possibly progressing to any higher education.
سؤالي عندي أخويا دارس الماجستير في العراق بقسم الكيمياء، بس هو يحب يجي يكمل دكتوراه، يعني أكو إمكانية إنه هو يعني مثلا يقدم له صعبة؟
بالتأكيد. إذا أكو في نظام اللي هو نظام عدلة الشهادات اللي هو إحنا متعاملين معه يعني مسجلين مع اسمه نارك، فنتاكد من شهادته. كل اللي يسويه انه يتصل بنا يعطينا معلوماته، واحنا بعدين نوجهه الى الجامعه اللي تناسبه واللي تتوافق مع شروط وزاره التعليم العالي. فاذا هو مثلا ما عنده لغه، ما عنده ايلتس او حتى ما عنده توفل، ننصحه يا اما يدرس في العراق بمعهد لغه معتمد وبعدين يمتحن، والمركز مثل ما ذكرت موجود في اربيل، او يجي في بريطانيا يعني نجيب له قبولين بهالحاله. بالاحرى 3 قبولات. القبول الاول يكون قبول لغه لفتره لا تقل عن 12 شهر اذا هو تماما يعني ما عنده لغه، وبعدين نجيب له البري ماسترز اذا هو يعني مش بس قبول الماجستير حيكون مشروط بدرجه نجاح الايلتس، فاذا جاب درجه قليله راح يداوم بهالحاله بالبري ماسترز اللي هي السنه التهيئه او تحضيريه مثل ما يقولون لما قبل الماجستير. فيعتمد كليته يعني ماكو
فرق. اوريدي ماخذ الماجستير يروح للدكتوراه.
اي عفوا اذا دكتوراه عنده ضوابط ثانيه، فبهالحاله مثلا لازم يكتب يعني شو يريد يدرس والبحث واسلوب بحث، يعني كليته يسوي برنامج، هي شروط معينه لكل مرحله يريدها الطالب. فاذا يريد دكتوراه هم لازم تكون عنده ايلتس. يعني اللغه في كل المراحل، للي يريد يدرس بكالوريوس، للي يريد يدرس ماجستير، للي يريد يدرس دكتوراه، بس شنو كل مرحله درجه الايلتس تختلف عن الثانيه حسب ضوابط اليو كي بي اي.
اوكي زين. الحال اذا يدز لي اوراق او الفاكس
اكيد
اياها
اكيد اكيد ويقدر بهالاثناء هو شو يسوي؟ يدز لنا المعلومات، يدز لنا نسخ من عندها، احنا نجيب له القبول بما هو مثلا يروح يصدق اوراقه. فاختصارا للوقت، اول ما الطالب يريد يقول لي انه انا اريد ادرس بريطانيا، اقول له لا سهل، دز لنا المعلومات، حول لنا النسخ، الاشياء المستنسخات اللي احنا رايديها من عندك، حتى ليش يعني احنا نعطيه القبول وبعدين يروح يصدق؟ لا، بهالاثناء نشتغل وهو يروح يصدق اوراقه.
اوكي بعدين ناخذ منك معلومات
ان شاء الله. اكيد عفوا.
العفو.
تفضلي.
تقييم التسهيلات اوريدي احنا حصلنا قبول في روسيا.
نعم.
بس نواجه معارضه من بغداد لانه صعب
النقل
او ياخذوا مثلا اجازه وظيفه وفتح كتاب يعني
هذه احنا بالنسبه لنا ما نقدر يعني احنا تعاملنا مو ويا الوزاره، احنا بالنسبه لنا تعاملنا كشركه بريطانيه عراقيه تتعامل ويا الطلبه بالذات. زين اذا هو يريد الطالب ينتقل من دوله الى دوله، فهاي لازم تكون بموافقه الدوله، بموافقه الوزاره، ويتقدم لازم بطلب تغيير دوله ابتعاث. فاذا وافقت عليه الوزاره ممكن انه طبعا احنا نجيب له قبول، بس ممكن نقدم له تسهيل. حصل القبول من بريطانيا؟
لا روسيا.
بس يريد يغير؟
لا ما يريد يغير.
لا شو يريد؟
بس مجرد بغداد يعني المعاملات كلش يعني موظف ولازم ياخذ اجازه وظيفيه ولازم يفتح فايل على مود مع الدراسه.
نعم.
من كمل دراسته بروسيا يقدر يرجع بغداد وتنحسب للخدمه. هنا الاعاقه تصير.
التأخير قصدك أنت يعني هو
التأخير لأنه القبول بروسيا هو وافقوا عليه والمقعد محجوز لحد شهر 11، بس بقى بس هذا الشهر يا ما يحصله أو يروح المقعد.
نعم. احنا للاسف الشديد ما نقدر نقدم اي تسهيلات من يعني اللي هي لها علاقه بالوزاره. الوزاره يعني فد شيء احنا ما لنا علاقه به، لا موافقه لا شيء لا تعجيل يعني مع الاسف.
بما أن الطلاب سواء بالعراق أو بأي دولة عربية أخرى راح يكونون على نفقة خاصة أكثر شيء، كيف يتم تعريف الطلاب بالخدمات والتسهيلات اللي يقدمها رولز افيشن لهؤلاء الطلاب؟ يعني كيف يعرفون؟ احنا هنا بدنا نسمع وبدنا نعرف هم في دولهم وأماكنهم كيف يتعرفون على الخدمات؟
حلو، خلاص سؤال. احنا بالنسبه لنا عندنا ويب سايت، عندنا فيسبوك، عندنا سوشيال نتوركينج سايتس من اللينكدين والتويتر وكل ده، نحاول نوصل المعلومه للطالب، بالاضافه الى انه نعتمد على شيء اسمه الورد اوف ماوث. فاذا يعني مثل انتم حضراتكم الحضور اليوم تعرفون احد بالعراق قرايبكم ابن عمكم وخالتكم يريد يدرس ببريطانيا، اوكي سمعنا وهاي عندنا ليفلتس وكونتاكت ديتيلز للي يحب. بس يعني ما عندنا مكتب في العراق، لان احنا مثل ما قلت شركه بريطانيه، بس كل اللي نعتمد عليه انه عندنا ويب سايت وعندنا سوشيال نتورك سايتس. تفضل.
Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام.
My name is Thomas. I'm Canadian. I'm working in Iraq right now. I just have two questions actually. Just sorry I missed your name, but you started talking about the point system.
Yeah.
As well as the point system for students before they come and after they come. Could you just discuss a little more detail, please? Just what's the point system for once you're a student here in which you immigrate, you become a permanent resident on a more full-time basis after you finish university? That's my first question. My second question is down in Brunel. You talk a lot about coming into university, but my question to you is, what happens once I'm a student in university? What kind of courses or bridging programs do you have to industry for those students that are coming from Iraq that are interested in staying on a more permanent basis? What is your university to facilitate that? Just trying to...
Can I answer the question first? That's a really good question, and I'll do my best to answer it. What happens usually, because I'm in the LIBT, we have several different teams in place, so I'm more or less involved in sort of marketing side. We have an admissions team that also look after sort of Tier 4 visa and entry sort of clearance purposes. We also have a student support team. Now, in a student's life cycle, so if you can imagine that it's a life cycle, a student enters the university, an international student, let's say, for example, they've come from Iraq and they have achieved the 60%, which makes them eligible to join the foundation, which is a stage 1. So they join the foundation, they successfully complete all the assessments, and they progress into the stage 2, which is the first year university studies. Now, those 2 stages are delivered specifically by LIBT in our facilities. And the difference here between the first year, for example, that we deliver, and the first year that that is delivered to direct students at Brunel, is that our classroom sizes are relatively smaller. So we have a lot of one-to-one support. That's one. And second, it's a lot more sort of mentoring involved as well. So we understand each student comes from a different educational system, different sort of cultural system as well. So it takes a lot of personalization to make them comfortable with the content that they're sort of picking up on a daily basis. But also to prepare them, I mean, the ultimate goal is to prepare them for the degree level studies in the stage 3, which is third year university studies, and that component is delivered directly by Brunel, and so is the final year. Now that particular life cycle there, or that pathway is 4 years. But what we can do is we can also include a placement year in there, and that placement year is for a whole 12 months, and they can be placed in a specific sector, specific business. So if they're studying, for example, business and management, they might be interested in some sort of marketing company. We can make that happen. Alternatively, if they're looking more into sort of the account side or the computing side, again, that's something that we can make happen. Now we have every university, and ours is, I mean, it's not a completely unique model. But every university has a careers and placements team, and that careers and placements team is their purpose is to assist international students, but also home students, to find a placement or an internship with a company that could be here in the UK, or indeed it could be back in Iraq. So and we place the students in there, and the whole purpose is for them to then develop not only the academic skills, but also their softer skills: communication, team playing, problem solving, decision making, business astuteness, all those sorts of things. And over and above that, we also, the university that is, they also arrange overseas summer schools and business tours and those sorts of schemes. And again, the whole purpose is to enrich the experience of the student, so that by the time they graduate from university, they've got the degree, of course, they've got the theory in the bag, but they've also got the experiences to go with it. And again, just coming back to what I was sort of saying before, is to make them a better-rounded individual, ready to make an impact in the real world, as it were. So I don't know if that sort of answers the question, but happy to sort of look into it a bit more, and then we can sort of get in touch afterwards. Thank you.
I'll try and answer mine. The points-based system is basically part of the UK immigration rules. As I explained earlier, every person wishing to enter the UK to study, they've got to apply for entry clearance as a Tier 4 student, for example. And so the points-based system would, the entry clearance officer, abroad, would assess you by giving you the relevant points. For example, for a CAS, you would get 30 points, and so on. And so you would have the offer from the university, you would have the CAS certificate from the university, and you would get the 30 points, because this university, they've assessed the applicant, they've assessed the student, they've said that he meets the requirements, for example, for the English, and that he is suitable to do this course, and so on. And so they would give the 30 points for this applicant.
And you need to get the 30 to enter, is that correct?
Yes, that's true, because you've got to have the 30 points in order to study. Yes, yeah. And then, of course, there's the maintenance rules, which mean that you've got to support yourself and so on in the UK, and then you get 10 points for that. In order to apply for further leave to remain, again, you've got to continue to meet the rules, and there are various, obviously depending on which course you're doing, but there are various requirements to meet. And then the theory is, if you meet the rules, it is a points-based system after all, then you would, your entry clearance would be facilitated, and your further leave to remain would obviously be granted thereafter. The only thing I would advise is that they look into the immigration history. There is something called general grounds for refusal, and immigration history is quite an important part of an assessment for entering the UK. And this general ground for refusal could be, there is a question on, for example, visa application forms. Have you ever been refused? And if you've ticked no, knowingly that you have previously been refused, for example, that could also play a major part in whether you can actually be granted this visa, because they do apply the general grounds for refusal. But generally, the theory is you make up the points, you get in, you have a clean immigration history, then you should be okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Tafadali.
The question is for the barrister, Luisa, your name? May, sorry. Yeah. My question is the application for the university and the application for the visa, are they two separate applications, or and how difficult to get the visa? I mean, is there any condition to get the visa, or and what's the least condition to get it?
Sure. The application for university, yes, they are two separate applications, of course. An entry clearance application is you're applying after you've obtained the offer for the university and so on, and you've accepted it, and you meet the requirements from that university for that particular course, then yes, that's separate totally than you applying to the university first of all in order to obtain this offer. So one has to follow the other. The first step is obviously to find the right course, to apply for the course through the university, and this is where probably Rulez Aviation would come to help you in order to find or recommend or collaborate with, for example, Brunel, who will be able to accommodate you, hopefully. And then you would have this offer, you would meet the requirements. They would have assessed you, of course. It's not, nothing is unconditional, of course. There would be an assessment, an assessment criteria for each course that you wish to do. And so after that has happened, and after this university, who's licensed, of course, to give you and issue you a certificate of acceptance, the CAS, sorry, then it would be the application would be made from the designated post abroad outside of the UK. So if it's in Iraq, then it will be the British post abroad in the embassy, for example. All right. You can complete application forms online, and then the embassy would give you an appointment to go. Your documents must be complete. You must have the university documents. You've got to have means of supporting yourself, for example, bank statements and so on. And you've declared everything on the application form, and that's how this visa application is actually made, rather than through the university. The university, in terms of assisting you, they would obviously give you the offer and give you their CAS letter, and you would make up the points that way if it's this particular course that you wanted to do. But they are, yes, two separate applications, correct?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. My problem is a little bit different than your situation. I am applying for QTS here. They don't accept me because they ask about my certificate from Baghdad, and I cannot get there. They won't give me this. I'm asking if you can help about that or not? Even if I bring it, it's going to be equivalent to high diploma. I have already got honor degree. I'm asking you why it is going to be. If I went to university, I checked the subjects, they have it, and I had same subject in level 3, in level 4 in Iraq. Why I do the same thing?
Okay. You finished a degree in Iraq?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And you want to study further here in the UK, and they basically they're saying it's a PG, postgraduate diploma?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, NARIC is a system that works on assessing what this certificate is equivalent to. Okay. And it works on okay, there's a particular year where the NARIC works according to. So, for example, if it's anything post in 1986, it's equivalent to PG, postgraduate diploma. If it's prior to that date, it would be considered as a postgraduate degree. So this is something that we can't deal with, unfortunately. It's a system created and used by the UK education system. So there's no collaboration between the ministry in Iraq and the system here. It's just the way that things work, unfortunately. Unfortunately, we can't help, and I really highly doubt if anybody can help you, because it's just the way that the education rules work, I'm afraid.
What about obtaining a certificate from Iraq?
This is something that you, unfortunately, again, we can't help you with. We're a UK, we're a British company, or based in London. So really, we can't help you or assist you in trying to obtain your certificates in Iraq. If it's difficult for you, you can only imagine how it's impossible for us, unfortunately. Okay.
To be honest, NARIC underestimates the certificate from Baghdad, because they do equivalent for the sixth grade or something like that, the baccalaureate, which students finish after 18, to GCSE, with people who finish like in the 15.
Unfortunately, we don't take part in the NARIC system design, but they do have their reasons. Okay, that's all I can say on their behalf. In all honesty, they work into special rules that they.
I mean, like maybe it's bad to go to NARIC if they can.
We don't advise, and we don't transfer anything to NARIC. What happens is that once we receive the certificates, and once the student attests the certificates at the ministry in Iraq, we would then transfer them to the university and
this
say.
Is much better than going through NARIC.
No, we don't. No. I was only explaining how the system works on the university at the university's end. At our end, what we do is we filter the applications. We work on advising the student and selecting the most appropriate university or the appropriate course for that particular student. However, we don't go into NARIC and say, okay, this is what it's equivalent to. This is entirely up to the university. That's why when the student receives an offer, it would normally be conditional. It's unlikely that the...
it's based on the language, the condition.
Not necessarily. The student could have achieved it, but at the end of the day, it's been quite a while since they graduated, and they need a refresher course. So again, it's something to do with the university. I merely just try to explain to you.
No, I'm saying this is not recommended.
No, we don't. Although we are registered with NARIC, should the student, because some students, we've got Saudi students, for example, they want to know, okay, I finished so-and-so in the US, or I finished such particular course in Australia. Do you think it would be, what equivalent would it be in the UK? So that's when we can tell them and say, okay, this is what it's equivalent to. If they're not happy, this has nothing to do with me. However, if it's assessing if that particular certificate is equivalent to any particular grade, it's up to the university to decide, not us. Okay. Any further questions?
In relation to the legal department,
okay.
You said you were talking about offering the initial fee for the student, and then you spoke about two separate applications. One is from the university from your side, and one is for the entry clearance. Is your legal department can your legal department assess the student in filling the application for entry clearance and making sure that all the relevant papers and documents are available or not?
Okay. Like Mace was saying before, it's 2 applications. What we do prior to referring the application to the legal department, that's only if the student wishes to apply, to go through the visa application through our legal team or legal department. What we do is offer the student the unconditional offer in that case because they fulfill the requirement, or even the conditional offer with the CAS number. Hence, it's 2 applications. They can't apply for entry clearance without having the CAS number. So there's no, I'll apply for student visa and then apply for an offer or obtain the CAS number. So for us, for our department, we obtain the offer, we provide them with the CAS number, and then refer them to Mace's team, and that's when they work according to the UKVA requirements.
Thank you very much.
You said you help the student to select the university or the subject he wants to study. If the student over there in Iraq and you here, you help him, how do he communicate with you? When he comes to London or? Oh no,
prior to coming into the UK. The first point of contact with the student is while he's at home thinking, I want to study in London.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's when one of the questions at the beginning were, how does the student find out about you? We have a website, we have Facebook, we have LinkedIn, we have Twitter. We try and get the message to the student in Iraq, or the interested student who wants to come into the UK and say, okay, I want to study in the UK. We've got our contact details, we've got telephone numbers, we've got emails, anything, any form of communication is available. We even offer Tango, Viber, any free communication possible. We try to become as easy as possible or as reachable as possible to the student. So once they call us, I would actually prefer, most of the time I prefer a one-to-one talk over the phone and explain to the student, because I'll give you an example. A student wants to study project management. But I need to know if they want to study project management, what's their background? Is it hospital management? Are they engineers? Are they simply just managers? So I need to get this message across to the student and explain and get as much information or feedback from them, and then advise them and say, okay, but you're an engineer graduate, that's why I will direct you. Yes, absolutely. So it's always one-to-one before they come into the UK. And can I just note that we don't just deal with students outside of the UK and students who are in Iraq. We also deal with students who recently came into the UK, like our friend here. She's already in the UK, but she needs advice. She needs an offer to do further studies or to carry on her education. So it's not just for students from abroad.
Is it specific age, or it's okay, for example, somebody wants
You can be as younger as old as you like. However, with age, if you're talking about sponsorship, this is something to do with the ministry, if they approve the sponsorship or not. However, for us, somebody can be 80 and wants to do a bachelor's degree. You are. Any more questions? Well,
can I ask Ali a question? You mentioned earlier that Brunel University have different courses related to the background of the student who wishes to study at Brunel. And you mentioned that there's a foundation stage for students who come, for instance, from Iraq with an Iraqi baccalaureate. So I think this clarifies that if a student comes from Iraq with the Iraqi baccalaureate, achieving a certain grade, could go through the foundation course without going through A-levels and other requirements.
Exactly that. You could arguably look at the foundation equivalent to an A-level, but it's really intensive. So that's what the foundation is there for, is to help that international student make that transition from their home country, the education that they've had there, to make the transition into the British educational system. Which is why we offer not just the foundation, but we also offer the first year university studies. So it could be, for example, that particular student from Iraq, they've achieved really good results, 85%, which could enable them to jump straight to first year university studies with LIBT, so they can skip the foundation altogether. So if it was with the foundation, it'd be 4 years, and if it was just the first year studies, it'd be 3 years.
Thank you.
If there are no more questions, I believe we conclude our event for today. And thank you very much for attending, and thank you for my colleagues here, Mace, Niama, and Ali Baksh. Thank you.